Okay.
Now, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the webinar for today. We're covering version 10, part 2. We covered part 1 last week. So Christophe Conta, our consultant, is going to go over the features, and he's available for questions afterwards. So Chris,
Yep. Thank you, Tracy.
going on here. Désigner. There you go. It's all yours.
Okay, good. So can you see my screen?
Yep, all's good.
Okay, super. So good afternoon, everyone. 2 weeks ago, we have been covering the administration module, sales, purchasing and services, financial management, project management with a Gantt chart, inventory and distribution, and we have stopped here with the business partner where we have seen that we can hide now a field that is not populated in an address. So today we'll be covering the cross-model topics, platform and extensibility. We will also look at a few new features that have not been documented yet by SAP, not on official release. And we will be looking at the web clients also, which is a new feature. So let's see right away what we have in the cross-module topics. So what we have now in SAP version 10, we have the ability to add attachment files to those document types: inventory counting, production order, deposit, incoming payment, and outgoing payment, and so on, as you can see also. So now we are not limited to market and document. And it can be very interesting. Let's say that you have a PDF or the Excel file that you've used for the inventory counting and inventory posting. Now you can simply attach it, and you can recall it whenever you need it later on. Okay, here we have the ability to reference, document, goods issue, goods receipt, inventory transfer request, and inventory transfer, as well as purchase request, check for payment, and recurring posting. So what it is, let's say that you want to link an inventory transfer request to a sales order. Let's go see what we have. So I've created here a transfer request that I have manually linked to a sales order, and we can see in the relationship map, we can see that they are linked together if here we go get the reference documents. Okay, there we are. So that's a nice feature. Now we have the option to create UDF in the following tables. So we have properties for the business partner, for the items we have in the attachment that we've just seen, on the preferred vendor. We have also, that could be interesting, in the shipping types table, we can have another UDF if we need to provide more description, let's say. So that
Units of measure too, that looks nice.
Yeah, units are exactly. Sometimes we are limited in what we can describe. So, okay. Now, platform and extensibility. What we have here, so the service layer is not something that is that will change the end user's way of using SAP. So it's more like programming. It's more programming topic. So I won't go very far with it. Support expiration date. If you now it is shown in the help about. So if a customer is not on the support plan anymore, it will be showing here. That's a very nice feature, the multiple trigger for user-defined value. So up to version 9.3, we are limited to one trigger for user-defined field, and sometimes we wish we had more than that. So now with version 10, SAP 10, let's say we have a UDF here in a sales order, and before we had only one field that could trigger that UDF. Now we can specify up to 10. So nice feature. Okay. The field for the user-defined field has been increased to 100 for the UDO also, and we have now a maximum limit of 5,000 user-defined menu in SAP. More than enough. Okay, two things important about SAP Hana. So SAP Hana in version SAP 10 will only support the version 64 for the SAP Business One client, the add-ons, DTW, and so on, Crystal Server integration, the API. So it is important before you proceed to a migration that you verify that your environment is set up in 64 bytes. Also, SAP
And this is
Hana,
just Hana again, right? This is only Hana.
This is only Hana, but it could be the same for SQL. I would have to check. It's always good whenever we do a migration. It's always good to verify all the that all the parameters goes fit together.
Yep.
And so Linux will be using the last version only. And also that is something that is interesting. We have currently with version 1.0 of SAP Hana, we have only a single tenant database, which means that we cannot have more than one environment. Okay, it can only be a production environment. So that can create issues when it is time to do a migration, because we want a totally isolated environment that we can have our own add-ons and the new version that we want to migrate. So now with SAP 10 and the newest version sorry, of SAP HANA Platform 2.0, it will be possible to have a multiple tenant database. So we can have our production environment and as well a test environment that is totally isolated. Okay, so here that concludes point 9 and 10. And before we talk about the web client, I'd like to show you a few things that are interesting. So let's go back to SAP. Okay, first, let's make a quick parenthesis, and I would like to show you something in the Query Manager. And that is not only for SAP version 10, that is also for SAP version 9.3. When you have queries in the Query Manager, you have to link them to query categories, and those query categories are linked to authorizations. So some people could have access to every authorizations. Some people could be limited to, let's say, the query group 1 and 2. Okay. But before it was impossible to rename them. So we had to remember that the group 15 was reserved for the confidential and the financial statement. Now we can rename it, and in the general authorization, we can say, okay, this person is allowed to have only the groups 1 and 2, and this person is granted for every group. So it's a nice improvement. Okay. Now, also I would like to remind you that this version SAP 10 is still in ramp up. It has not been officially released. So there might have some new improvements by the time it gets released. For now, that version 9.1, sorry, that version SAP 10 patch level 1 has already some new improvement compared to the patch level 0. For instance, when we create a document, we have now an extended button here. Instead of having only the add, we have the add in view or add in new or add in close. So we need the delivery date, of course. So it's interesting because we create our sales order and it goes back to the same sales order that we've created. We can do a modification, send it by email, or print it. Another improvement that we've had is in the open item list. So now we are back in version SAP 10. In the open item list, we have the option to see any UDF that was created on the header level. So we have here a sales order that has a priority and another UDF, and we can see that UDF in the open item list. We can filter on, we can sort by this UDF, and of course export to Excel. Another interesting features that we have is the ability from a closed document to change a UDF value even if the lines are closed. So let's recall a sales order. Let's say we want a closed sales order. Okay. Sometimes we might want to change a value of a UDF, and currently we're not able to. Now with SAP 10 we could, and it is something that has to be activated in the document settings, and we can specify which document we want to enable. So let's say we could say that we want to enable it for the sales order, but not for the deliveries or invoice. And
also, who can do the person who's allowed to also, right?
That is correct. That is so. In the general authorizations, we could specify which users can do it in the sales document and which users can do it in the purchase document also. And of course, here in the document settings, okay, in the document settings, we have to activate it because we might want to leave it not activated. But I believe it's a very nice feature. Okay, what else? Okay, now we have it is possible to create a UDF in the address of a business partner, and we can show that in the build to or in the ship to. Okay, here I have a UDF called form. It could be anything. It could be a general remark that we want to display on the ship to level. If you go to administration, setup, business partner, and address format, let's recall Canada, you can see the UDF here and can just put it in the main window and update, and it will be showing up in the sales order, in any sales and purchasing document. Okay, unit of measure. Sometimes we can have too many units of measures and some of them are not relevant anymore. Now it is possible to hide them. So let's go to administration, setup, inventory, and unit of measure. No, sorry, let's go to the unit of measure group. Okay. let's say that we don't need to see those cartoons anymore. We'll just inactivate it, and it will be disappearing from the items, and also it will not be accessible from the sales or purchasing document. So it will provide more visibility on what we have. Okay, finally, two new features that have just been released on that patch level. It is a two tracking reports for the serial number and batch number. In inventory report, we have a forward batch and serial trace report and a reverse batch and serial trace report. And that is a very nice feature that I believe should have been there since a long time. Just came up. I'm going to show you what we can do with it. So let's say that we have, of course, it's better if we're using production, but it could be just a regular item that we buy and sell. But let's say here, I've created an item called bread, and that item is made with flour, water, and yeast. They are those ingredients, some of them are managed by batch number, sorry, on every transaction. So we have bread that is made out of flour, and also we have sandwich that is made with bread and garnish. So so I've made two production order. I have bought those raw materials. I have created a production order for 10 breads. After I have created a production order for 5 sandwich. I have sold them. Actually, I have sold 2 of them, and I have transferred, I think it was one of them. Let me just verify what I've done. Inventory transaction, inventory transfer. I'm looking for the quantity here. Quantity is there. Okay, it's one. It's just one. So we've transferred one from the warehouse 1 to the warehouse 2. And also we have made an invoice for MaxiTech. Okay, for a quantity of 2. Good. So let's see what we have from this report. So that forward batches report, the reason why it's called forward is because we will enter here. So this is the flour that I bought. It's the first ingredient that I've bought. And let's say there is a recall on that. I want to see I want to see what this item has been used for. So I can see here that it's been received. I've received 1,000. I think it was 1,000 grams. And I've been using that ingredient for a production order here to create bread. Then this bread, I've been using 5 of them in a production order to create a sandwich here. And that sandwich, I can see that I have lost one here because I made a transfer from warehouse 1 to warehouse 2. So I have a -1 here and a +1 here. And I've made a delivery to MaxiTech for a quantity of 2. So that way I can track down all the parent item that were created with that single batch number here. And I can see which are the customers that bought it. Also, if I'm using a reverse batch, in that example, I'm gonna track down the batch for the finished good sandwich. So let's say that there's a recall on that sandwich, and I want to see what are the ingredients that were used for it. So I can see that, once again, I can see that this sandwich was sold to Maxitech. I can see that it's been transferred here, -1 + 1, production order. I had a production order of 5, and I can see here all the way down the ingredients that was used. I can see that I've used flours and I've used yeast with the batch and serial number of each. The only thing that I don't see here is the water, because I have the water was not batch managed. Okay, so that's the only reason here. I'm looking at let me just recall the production order.
An interesting feature for recalls, you know.
Yeah, exactly. Sometimes we have see here the water was just not managed by batch. So that's it. So, but the flour here is managed by batch, and the yeast too. So, okay. Okay, so now let's finish the presentation with the web client. Web client is a new tool that was created by SAP mostly to replace what we call the remote desktop services. So sometimes we can have, some customers can have a client server installation, and sometimes they can have a remote desktop services because their user needs to access SAP remotely, like on the road or from home, or and so this new web feature is an ongoing process. Okay, to tell you, it's not totally ready, I believe, and it is interesting. But I would recommend a bit before, I would wait a bit before recommending, but let's see what it creates now. Let's see what we
They're
can do.
still just working on it, though. You know, what we're showing here today, Christophe, is really, you know, it's to give you an idea of what's coming, because this is not yet available to general public, you know.
Exactly, and it makes
It
sense.
gives an idea what they're doing. You know, they're still going to be adding new things and fixing things, but it gives a good idea on what it is.
That's correct, and I know that they want to go toward that directions. For now, we can only create sales quotation and sales order, but later on we will be able to create more documents on the receivables, and eventually we'll be able to create purchasing documents also. So let's see what we can do now. But it's quite interesting because we can create some sales quotation, sales order. Here officially, the deliveries, invoices, returns, and credit notes are supported in read-only modes. Business partners, we can create and edit them, same for the items, and also the activities. So if we're on the roads, it can be interesting to create some new customers, or to create some new activities. And we have also analytic tools that we will see. So let's see what we have. Okay, so I will select database.
And by the way, because we validated with some team members, because we had the French presentation this morning, and we had questions asking if it was only available on Hana. So we have the reply, the answer from them. So the web client's available in SQL and Hana.
That's correct. Okay, so this is a web client. What we have here, we have some, it looks like a tablet design, and it could be very interesting to use it on an iPad. For now, I'm using my laptop. We can see open sales quotation, open sales order. We can create a sales order from here. This is a kind of a widget page. We have more option in the sales here, so we can definitely see our sales quotation, sales order, draft, deliveries, invoices, and credit memo. So why SAP says that currently we cannot create deliveries and sales order, and here it says create a credit memo, create an AR invoice. It's because it is they are slowly they are adding some new features to it. But I have not seen yet the option to create an AR invoice based on a delivery, or to create a delivery based on a sales order. So I guess it
It's
might
still
be the
pretty
reason
basic.
why. Exactly. But once again, if you're on the road, you need to create a new customers, an activity, or even create a sales quotation. Let's see how we can create a sales quotation. We will select a customer, microchips. Okay. We have a customer reference number, we have a remark, we have posting date, valid until, and document date, as always. So it's exactly the same fields as a regular client. It's just a different layout. So let's say we want these 3 printers, we do a select. We have some limitations though that we don't have on a regular client. Let's say you remember that UDF here, we had a trigger on it. The trigger was that when we enter the item number, it should populate that information, and currently it does not. So we have a few limitations like the user-defined value, the add-on. As far as I know, we are not able to have an add-on on that. But few interesting things. We have the form settings that works well on that. And
When you say no add-ons, you mean no add-ons on the web client?
on the web client.
Okay, all right.
Exactly.
Because
As
even
far as I
version
know.
10, by the way, all the add-ons are currently working on being compatible with version 10. As we had said, you know, version 10 is only available in 64-bit, so there's a bit of work to come, but Buyum is one of our suppliers, an important add-on for SAP Business One, which is compatible with version 10, but the others are still working on it. I just want to specify that.
And they will be ready when, hopefully they will be ready when we have the official release. Okay, so we can change the build to, ship to, change the shipping type, add here payment method. We can enter some data in the UDF. So it's pretty much, it's quite, I mean, it's just the way as it's quite basic. It's just that you have to scroll left and right and up and down. So that's why I don't see it as of now as a productivity. I don't see it replacing totally for now a regular client, but it's a very nice tool that we could use on the road.
All in good time, I guess.
Exactly. We can print or send preview, send by email, and we can see if we have any documents to be approved. Or so we have also a very nice reporting capacity. So let's say, okay, here we have an analytic. We have some purchases analysis, sales analysis, financial. We have some inventory status also. So just to be clear, we don't have all the reports that we have on a regular client here, but we have some different reports, let's say, and they are very well configurable. In the sales analysis, let's say, we have by default some filters here, but it is possible to create your own view, your own templates that will on which you can record your parameters, and you can change the filters that you want to see here. And it's very easy, very quick and easy to add a new widget, a new dashboard. So let's say here, a sales by customer group. I'm just going to close it and recreate it. Let's close it.
But as we said this morning, Christophe, this is really independent from the dashboards that you have in your SAP.
It is.
It's not, you can't, it's not what you already have. This is another system.
It is.
You set up yourself.
So let's say we want to get the business partner group name here, and we want here the net sales amount, which is fine. That's it. Let's put it a title and a subtitle. Let's say, and add. So we are not using here. I'm just going to click on finish, and I'm just going to save it. And the next time I open it up, it will be like this, using the same filter. So it is using a cube from SAP. So we don't have to create a view. We don't have to create a statement and link that to that view. So anyone can create very fast some new widgets like this. Nice product, I believe. It will actually be more interesting down the road. Does anyone have any question about this or about anything that we've seen in version SAP 10?
No, I think that's it, Chris.
Good.
So, well,
thank
thanks
you everyone
everyone.
for watching.
Yep. And in 2 weeks, our next web session is going to be really interesting. We're going to be covering Buyum CRM for Outlook, a really, really nice, inexpensive way to manage what's in your SAP customers, invoices, quotes directly from your Outlook. Very interesting. So that'll be in 2 weeks. So thanks, Chris. Thanks, everyone. And
Yep,
send us an email if you have any questions. Thank you. Bye,
have a
Chris.
good day.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.